We're back with Alden Chodash of AldenBoxing.com. This past weekend, Alden, kind of a light schedule in boxing. The highlight probably was Fernando Montiel, as you expected, made quick work of Luis Maldonado, and that of course sets up a Montiel-Christian Maharis fight that I'm sure you're anxious to see, correct?
Yeah, Montiel did what he had to do. He definitely secured a bout with Christian Maharis. It's probably in the works right at this moment. It should be. It's perfect for the state of the super flyweight division, which is not too glamorous, but it may draw some attention after this matchup. Montiel did what he had to do against Luis Maldonado. Maldonado has been beaten by good fighters. He's a decent fighter, and he's a perfect opponent for Montiel, who had a chance to display his full arsenal against Luis Maldonado, and he looked good in doing it and secured a match in his undoing of Maldonado.
Okay, Zigorez a winner this past weekend. Silence Mabuza, knocked out Damian Marciano in 5 rounds. So that sends us to this upcoming week's action, and things begin to heat up. But on the weekend, Saturday especially. But first on Friday, ESPN from Quebec, Canada, Herman Ngojo. He's 19-2, with his only losses coming to Paulie Malignaggi and Jose Luis Castillo. He takes on Suleiman Mbaye, who's 36-2, and his only losses are versus Vivian Harris and Gavin Reeves. Pretty good matchup?
Yeah, it's a really intriguing matchup. I'm really a fan of Herman Ngojo. He's very inexperienced when you consider having his accomplishments, having given Jose Luis Castillo, who was someone that was not a bad Jose Luis Castillo on that occasion. He gave Jose Luis Castillo all he could handle, and he also gave Paulie Malignaggi all he could handle. Both fighters that were top-notch 140-pound fighters. Paulie Malignaggi happens to still be a top 140-pound fighter and a champion. He's given them both problems. He's beaten Randall Bailey. He's a good all-around fighter, and his inexperience draws us to make conclusions that his best is yet to come. Suleiman Mbaye's best was already accomplished. He was a former champion. Definitely not what he used to be. It should be an easy matchup that favors Herman Ngojo and a good learning experience, considering that Suleiman Mbaye was actually recently a champion before he was unexpectedly dethroned by Gavin Reeves.
Okay. On Saturday, HBO, Kelly Pavlik versus Gary Lockett. This is a mismatch, no?
Yeah, it is. The only thing I like about this matchup is that Lockett is no runner, or that's at least what the word is. He comes right at you. Kelly Pavlik should enjoy this matchup because it gives him a chance to not only show some boxing skills that he was unable to show against Jermaine Taylor because of the stylistic matchup, but he could also show his full arsenal against Gary Lockett. Lockett's probably an easy target, and his record shows that he is nowhere near the level he should be at in order to dethrone Kelly Pavlik. So it's a good matchup for Pavlik, a good chance to showcase his boxing skills in front of another national audience.
Lockett has no big names on his resume. Do you think this is good or bad for boxing that he becomes a mandatory against Pavlik?
I think Pavlik deserves a tune-up, definitely. He's faced Edson Miranda at his best, a huge puncher. Miranda, incidentally, is getting a shot at the middleweight title, and he's already been given one. Pavlik knocked him out and destroyed him, did much better than Arthur Abraham could do in his first attempt at beating Miranda, which he accomplished. And he also went right back and beat Jermaine Taylor the same year. He was an underdog in that fight, and he knocked Taylor out and beat an improved Jermaine Taylor in the rematch. So he deserves an easy matchup like Lockett.
But if it goes the distance, it's a letdown, no?
It would be unless Pavlik shows superior boxing skills, and it's understood that he was not going full out on his outclassed opponent like Lockett. That's probably the only excuse, positive reason he would have if he would go the distance, but I definitely don't expect Lockett to extend him that far.
Okay, on the card, it's Ponce de Leon versus Juan Manuel Lopez, who is 21-0, 19 by KO. Is he ready for the step up in class?
This is a really great matchup. It definitely trumps the main event. That's what makes it a great matchup, or a very exciting matchup coming up. Is that I don't know if Juan Manuel Lopez has the experience to handle Ponce de Leon in his first step up to this stage, in which Ponce de Leon has been campaigning at for quite some time. And also, what makes it even more difficult is Ponce de Leon's style. He's not your everyday fighter. He comes at you from strange angles, similar to Ricardo Mayorga, and he has compiled a record, an impressive record consisting of only one defeat for a reason, because his opponents, like previous victims to Mayorga, haven't been able to display their boxing skills against that kind of style. It's very awkward and it throws you off. The question is whether we can throw off a fighter like Juan Manuel Lopez, who definitely has far the superior boxing skills to many of the junior featherweights, including Ponce de Leon, definitely. Whether he could display that is a question. I don't think he's ready to at this stage in his career. He's capable of pulling it off, but I'd lean towards Ponce de Leon in this matchup.
Okay, also on Saturday, Showtime features Vernon Forest versus Sergio Mora. Is Mora going to get destroyed by Forest as expected?
He's not ready for this, as Juan Manuel Lopez may not be ready. He's not at the level of Juan Manuel Lopez either. He has shown that he's not at the top class level, basically because he's true with Alden Ayala, who that was a huge letdown, and definitely a factor in understanding why he is not in Forrest's level. This should be an easy fight for Forrest, and it's not an intriguing matchup to the public.
Okay, do you think Forrest will take him out, or do you think it's going to go the distance?
It depends on which Forrest shows up, a great boxer or the puncher Vernon Forest has shown he was. I'm not sure if he still is that puncher, despite having knocked out Michel Picaro in his last fight. At this stage of his career, he may not have the punching power he once had. But I see a victory regardless of what fashion he entered.
Okay, Paul Williams, Carlos Quintana 2. What does Paul Williams do to come off with a victory this time?
I think Paul Williams, to tell you the truth, was Paul Williams the first time he fought Carlos Quintana. I think he fought as good as he could have, and Carlos Quintana fought a very inspired fight. That's the only question, whether Quintana can return with as inspired of a fight as he showed in the first fight to beat Paul Williams. He may not have that inspiration for the rematch, and if that is the case, Paul Williams has a chance at beating Carlos Quintana, because let's remember, it was a close fight the first time around, even though Quintana clearly won the fight. It's the questions on Quintana, really, not Paul Williams. Paul Williams is going to show up the same fighter as he did in February. It's up to Quintana whether he has retained that determination to retain his belt as he had when he won the belt.
What do you expect?
I expect him to win it one way or another. I think
Quintana?
Yeah, Quintana to win it one way or another. His punches make a bigger imprint than Paul Williams's do. He's definitely a bigger puncher, a sharper puncher, and it's easier to score fights in his favor than Williams because of the thudding effect on his opponents that Quintana has compared to Paul Williams.
Okay, also this Saturday, speaking of Ponce de Leon, his only loss came to Celestino Caballero, and Caballero is facing a pretty good fighter in Lorenzo Parra. They're fighting in Venezuela. Parra, who recently gave Eric Morel his first career loss.
Not recently.
Well, a couple years back.
Yeah, big upset. But one thing I got to tell you, Parra is not the same fighter he was. This is an easy matchup for Celestino Caballero. He's facing an experienced fighter, but a shot fighter, an older fighter. And Caballero, it's a good fight for Caballero only for one reason, that the name Lorenzo Parra does look good on his resume. But Celestino Caballero should look towards the winner of Ponce de Leon and Juan Manuel Lopez.
And you think Caballero can beat Ponce de Leon again?
The way he has no fear of Ponce de Leon. He's also an awkward fighter. He doesn't get thrown off by the awkwardness of Daniel Ponce de Leon. He also has height and maybe even a little bit of physical strength on Ponce de Leon. So he should be able to beat Ponce de Leon again on paper, but that'd be a test of how much Ponce de Leon has improved in that span.
Okay, and finally, I know it's a bit of a sore spot for you, but we're going to bring up MMA. Kimbo Slice was on national TV the other night, and he took care of his opponent, but was in trouble when the fight was on the ground. But when they were on their feet, Kimbo showed pretty good boxing skill, no?
Yeah, he's shown good boxing skills in his street fights on YouTube. He's definitely has some schooling in terms of boxing. Whether he could turn to the boxing world when he's finished with MMA, if he ever finishes with MMA and turns to the boxing world, is a question. Whether he could beat some heavyweights. He has the boxing skills too, but I think his street fighter mentality would get in the way of him ever becoming a face in the heavyweight division. But I don't think it's really the question anyways. I think he's too old to really turn to boxing and be a serious threat. I think that's probably that's probably out of his hand.
Okay, thanks Alden for talking to us. Remember to check out aldenboxing.com for more information. See you next week. Bye-bye.